The universe was a dark and silent place, but the Zorgon Empire was not silent. They were loud. They were conquerors. For 500 years, the Zorgon fleet had moved from one star system to another, taking whatever they wanted. They did not ask for permission. They took planets, they took resources, and they enslaved species. On the bridge of the massive flagship, the Conqueror, High Commander Krell, stood with his hands behind his back. Krell was a tall, imposing figure. His skin was like green armored leather, thick and scarred from many battles. His yellow eyes had vertical slits, like a snake, and they stared out into the black void of space with a look of pure boredom. To Krell, war had become too easy. The Zorgon technology was superior to everyone else's. Their ships had shields that could block nuclear missiles. Their lasers could melt cities in seconds. They were the apex predators of the galaxy. "Commander," a voice chirped from behind him. It was Sub-Commander Vix. Vix was smaller, younger, and much more nervous. He was tapping rapidly on a holographic glass screen. "We have arrived at the destination. Sector 7G. The third planet from the yellow star." Krell turned slowly. He walked toward the main viewing screen. "Show me," he grumbled. The screen flickered, and a beautiful blue and white marble appeared. It was Earth. It looked peaceful. It looked soft. There were no rings of metal defense platforms around it. There were no giant space stations guarding its moon. It looked like a fruit waiting to be picked. "Scan it," Krell ordered. "Tell me about their defenses. Do they have plasma cannons? Do they have gravity shields? Do they have a warp fleet?" Vix's fingers flew across the control panel. He looked confused. He squinted at the data, tapped the screen again, and then looked up at his commander with a strange expression. "Sir, the scan is complete," Vix said, his voice trembling slightly. "But the results are disappointing." "Disappointing?" Krell laughed. It was a dry, raspy sound. "You mean they are weak?" "They are incredibly primitive, sir," Vix explained. "I am reading high levels of carbon in the atmosphere. They are still burning fossil fuels to make electricity. They use simple radio waves to communicate. Their space travel capability is almost zero. They have a few small metal cans floating in orbit, mostly for taking pictures of the weather." Krell shook his head in disbelief. "Fossil fuels? They burn dead plants? How have they survived this long?" "There is more, sir," Vix continued. "Their global network, they call it the Internet, is completely unshielded. I hacked into it in 3 seconds. I am looking at their military history. They spend all their time fighting each other. They use solid metal bullets. Chemical explosives. They don't even have a unified planetary government. They are divided into hundreds of small tribes called nations. Krell turned back to the window, looking down at the blue planet with contempt. "This is a waste of my time," he said. "I expected a fight. I expected a challenge. This isn't a war, it's a pest control job. Prepare the invasion fleet. We will take the planet in 1 hour. We will wipe out their leaders, enslave the population, and take their water. Their water is the only valuable thing there." "Sir, wait," Vix said suddenly. The young officer was looking at a different monitor. A red light was blinking softly. "What is it now?" Krell snapped, annoyed. "I am picking up something else," Vix said. "Deep underground. And deep under the oceans. There are energy signatures. Strange ones. They are not consistent with the rest of their primitive technology." Krell walked over to Vix's station and looked at the screen. He saw the faint red dots pulsing on the map of Earth's oceans. "It's probably just geothermal heat," Krell dismissed it, waving his hand. "Volcanoes. Earthquakes. The planet is unstable. It doesn't matter." "But sir," Vix pressed, "the energy, it feels heavy. It's not radiation. It's magnetic. And the atmosphere, it's too quiet. When a Class 5 invasion fleet arrives, usually the native species starts broadcasting panic signals. They scream for help. They launch fighters. But Earth? Earth has gone silent. All their radio chatter just stopped the moment we entered the system. It feels orchestrated. Krell grabbed Vix by the shoulder of his uniform. You are overthinking, Vix. That is your problem. You see a shadow and you think it is a monster. They are silent because they are terrified. They are freezing like small animals in front of a predator. Do not mistake fear for strategy. Krell let go of Vix and marched to the center of the bridge. He raised his hand. The entire crew of the bridge watched him. They were eager for blood. They wanted to see the green lasers fire. All ships. Krell bellowed into the comms system. Begin the descent. Target the major population centers. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. Burn the government buildings first. Break their spirit. Launch. The floor of the ship hummed as the massive engines powered up. Thousands of Zorgon attack ships detached from the mothership. They looked like swarms of angry metal hornets. They dove toward the atmosphere of Earth. As they hit the upper atmosphere, the friction turned the air around them into fire. To the people on the ground, it must have looked like the sky was bleeding. Red streaks of light painted the clouds. Krell watched the main screen with a smile. He imagined the humans running in the streets. He imagined their tiny, primitive armies trying to shoot their little metal bullets at his ships. He expected chaos. The fleet broke through the clouds. They were now visible to the naked eye. The Zorgon ships hovered over the great cities of Earth. They charged their plasma cannons. The green light of the weapons cast an eerie glow over the skyscrapers. Fire a warning shot, Krell ordered. Blow up a landmark. Let them know who is in charge. A Zorgon cruiser over New York fired a beam of plasma. It hit the water near the Statue of Liberty. The water boiled instantly, creating a massive cloud of steam. Krell waited for the surrender transmission. He waited for the humans to beg for mercy. But nothing happened. There was no screaming on the radio. There were no jets scrambling to fight. Status report. Krell barked. Why aren't they running? Vix was staring at his screen, his face pale green. Sir? I don't know. The optical scanners are showing the streets. The humans, they are just standing there. Standing there? Yes. They are looking up. They are not running. They are filming us with their phones. And... Sir, I am detecting a sound. A sound? It is coming from the planet's surface. A broadcast. But it's not a voice. It's a signal. Suddenly, a low, deep noise filled the bridge of the Conqueror. The Zorgon communications system had picked it up. It wasn't a speech. It was a siren. Room. It was a mechanical, grinding sound. It sounded like a giant beast waking up from a long sleep. It was low, heavy, and it made the floor of the spaceship vibrate. What is that? Krell asked, his tail twitching nervously. It's coming from everywhere, Vix whispered. Every city. Every continent. And sir, the heat signatures under the ocean? They are moving. They are rising. Krell looked back at the screen. The humans on the ground were still not running. In fact, some of them were smiling. For the first time in 50 years, High Commander Krell felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He looked at the primitive, defenseless blue planet, and he realized something very important. The silence wasn't fear. The silence was patience. The trap had been snapped shut. The deep, mechanical siren continued to wail across the earth. Room. It was a sound that vibrated in the chests of every living thing. High Commander Krell stood on the bridge of the Conqueror, his hands gripping the railing. He did not like this sound. It sounded too organized. It sounded like a warning. Ignore the noise. Krell shouted, his voice booming over the confusion of his crew. They are trying to scare us with loud noises. It is a primitive trick. Proceed with the attack. Burn their cities to ash. The order went out to the thousands of Zorgon ships hovering in the sky. The pilots, eager to please their commander, locked their targets. The ships over New York City aimed at the tall skyscrapers. The ships over London aimed at the old clock tower. The ships over Tokyo aimed at the dense streets. Fire, the captains commanded. Thousands of green plasma beams shot out at once. The sky lit up with blinding emerald light. The plasma was hotter than the surface of a star. It was designed to melt steel, boil water, and turn stone into lava. The Zorgon crew watched the screens, expecting to see the human cities disappear in balls of fire. But the fire never touched the ground. Just as the deadly green beams were about to hit the buildings, the air itself seemed to shatter. A massive, glowing pattern appeared in the sky. It looked like a honeycomb, millions of golden hexagons interlocking perfectly. Crack hiss. The plasma beams hit the golden hexagons and splashed like water hitting a glass wall. The energy didn't burn through. It didn't explode. It just spread out harmlessly and vanished. On the bridge, the silence was absolute. Commander Krell's jaw dropped open. He blinked his snake-like eyes, sure that he was seeing things. Report. Krell screamed. What just happened? Why are the cities not burning? Sub-Commander Vix was frantically typing on his console. His hands were shaking. Sir. I don't understand. They have deployed a planetary defense shield. But the energy readings, they are off the charts. Impossible. Krell roared. They burn dead plants for fuel. How can they have hard light shielding? That is Class 10 technology. We don't even have that. Down on Earth, the humans were no longer just watching. The trap was fully active now. The siren stopped. A new sound began. It was the sound of heavy machinery moving. In the Rocky Mountains of North America, the side of a massive granite cliff began to slide open. Fake trees and fake rocks fell away, revealing huge metal doors. In the Swiss Alps in Europe, the snow-covered peaks split apart. In the deserts of Australia, the sand shifted as massive elevators rose from underground bunkers. Sir, new contacts appearing on the surface. Vix yelled. They are not ships. They are guns. Massive guns. Krell looked at the screen. He saw the weapons emerging. They were ugly. They were not elegant like Zorgon weapons. They were giant, blocky, gray machines made of thick steel and concrete. They had long barrels, some as long as a football field, pointing straight up at the sky. Krell laughed nervously. Look at them. They look like sewer pipes. They are going to shoot chemical explosives at us. Our energy shields can block any explosion. They are wasting their time. The Zorgon shields were indeed powerful. They were designed to absorb energy. If you shot a laser at a Zorgon ship, the shield would eat the energy and recharge. If you fired a nuclear missile, the heat and radiation would be absorbed. They were invincible against modern energy weapons. But the humans didn't use energy weapons. General Stone to all batteries, a human voice crackled over the open radio frequency, loud enough for the aliens to hear. Fire for effect. Clear the sky. Boom. 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 The sound was not like a laser zap. It was thunder. It was the sound of air being ripped apart. The human weapons were railguns. They used magnetism to float a solid rod of tungsten, a metal twice as heavy as steel, and shoot it out at Mach 10. That is 10 times the speed of sound. There were no explosives in the rod. There were no lasers. It was just a very heavy, very fast metal stick. The tungsten rods flew up into the atmosphere. They moved so fast they caught on fire from the friction, turning into streaks of white-hot light. Incoming projectiles, the Zorgon tactical officer shouted. Impact in 3 seconds. Hold shields. Krell ordered confidently. Absorb the energy. The first tungsten rod hit a Zorgon cruiser over the Atlantic Ocean. The Zorgon shield flickered. The ship's computer tried to analyze the energy of the attack to absorb it. But there was no energy to absorb. There was only a solid, heavy rock moving incredibly fast. Physics took over. The shield was designed to stop heat and light, not mass. The tungsten rod punched right through the energy shield as if it wasn't even there. Crunch. The sound was sickening. The rod smashed into the nose of the alien ship and exited out the back engine a split second later. It turned the high-tech spaceship into a crushed soda can. The ship instantly lost power and began to tumble out of the sky. Then the second ship was hit. Then the third. Smash. Crunch. Boom. The sky was filled with falling debris. The proud Zorgon fleet, the terror of the galaxy, was being swatted like flies. Our shields are doing nothing. Vix screamed, his voice cracking with panic. The projectiles are solid matter. The shields can't stop kinetic force. They are tearing us apart. Solid matter? Krell stared at the screen in horror. He watched as one of his best destroyers was hit by 3 rods at once. The ship simply broke in half. They are throwing rocks at us. We are losing to a species that throws rocks. Sir, these rocks are traveling at 7,000 miles per hour. Vix cried. It's not a battle, it's a slaughter. Krell grabbed the communication microphone. Evasive maneuvers. All ships, break formation. Dodge them. But it was too late. The human railguns were controlled by supercomputers. They calculated the wind, the gravity, and the movement of the alien ships instantly. The Zorgons tried to dive, they tried to spin, but the metal rods found them every time. In just 5 minutes, the sky was clearing. Smoke trails marked where alien ships had once been. The burning wreckage of the invasion fleet rained down into the oceans and empty deserts, guided away from cities by the human shields. Krell felt his knees go weak. He slumped into his command chair. He had expected a primitive species with stick and stones. Instead, he had found a warrior race that had mastered the art of kinetic destruction. He looked at the tactical map. 40% of his fleet was gone. Just gone. Turned into scrap metal. Pull back, Krell whispered. His throat was dry. Sir? Vix asked. I said pull back. Krell roared. Get the remaining ships out of the lower atmosphere. Land the ground troops. If we can't fight them in the sky, we will fight them on the ground. Krell thought this was a smart move. He thought that face-to-face, his tall, strong Zorgon soldiers with their laser rifles would surely defeat the small, soft humans. He did not know about Earth's gravity. He did not know that he was sending his soldiers into a heavy, crushing nightmare. Deploy the drop pods, Krell ordered, trying to regain his composure. Send down the elite guard. Let's see how these humans fight when they have to look us in the eye. Thousands of small drop pods shot out from the surviving ships, heading toward the surface. Krell watched them go. He hoped this would turn the tide of the battle. He didn't realize he was just making his second fatal mistake. High Commander Krell paced back and forth on the bridge of the Conqueror. His tail lashed angrily behind him. He had lost the sky. The human railguns had swatted his ships like annoying insects. But Krell was not ready to give up. The sky belongs to machines, Krell muttered to himself. But the ground belongs to warriors. My Viper Legions have never been defeated in hand-to-hand combat. The Viper Legions were the Zorgon Empire's elite soldiers. They were tall, standing nearly 7 feet high. They were thin, agile, and incredibly fast. On most planets, a Zorgon soldier could jump 20 feet in the air and run faster than a cheetah. They wore energy-dispersing armor that glowed with a soft blue light. They are landing now, sir, Sub-Commander Vix reported, watching the tactical map. Sector 4. A forested area near one of their major cities. Good, Krell hissed. The humans are short and stocky. They look slow. Once my Vipers get close, they will slice them apart. Down on Earth, thousands of silver drop pods slammed into the ground. They landed in a dense forest in North America. Steam hissed from the hot metal as the pods opened. Squad leader Zar was the first to step out. He held his plasma rifle ready. He expected to leap out of the pod and sprint into the trees, moving like a shadow. He took one step, and his knee almost buckled. Thud. Zar stumbled forward. He gasped for air. He felt incredibly heavy. It felt as if someone had tied heavy rocks to his arms and legs. His heart began to beat very fast, thump 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 thump, trying to pump blood against the crushing pressure. Squad report. Zar wheezed into his helmet radio. Something is wrong with the environment suits. Leader, a soldier replied, his voice sounding strained and tired. It is not the suits. It is the planet. The gravity, it is oppressive. Zar looked at his wrist computer. He read the atmospheric data. His eyes widened. Gravity is 2.0? That is double the galactic standard. The air pressure is crushing. On the Zorgon home world, gravity was light. They had evolved to be tall and thin because they didn't need heavy bones. But Earth was a heavy, dense rock. Here, the Zorgons felt like they weighed 400 pounds. Every movement was a struggle. Raising a rifle felt like lifting a log. Adapt. Zar ordered, though he was already sweating. We are the Viper Legion. We are superior. Move out. They tried to move through the forest. Usually, they would jump over fallen logs and dash through bushes. Now, they had to climb over logs slowly, panting for breath. They trudged through the mud, their boots sinking deep. Then, the bushes ahead of them rustled. Contact. Zar shouted. Open fire. Figures emerged from the trees. They were humans. To Zar, the humans looked ridiculous. They were short. They were wide. They wore bulky, ugly clothes with green and brown patterns, camouflage. They wore heavy helmets and thick vests. They didn't carry elegant energy staves, they carried ugly black metal tools. Zar aimed his plasma rifle and pulled the trigger. Zap! A beam of red heat struck the chest of the lead human soldier. Zar waited for the human to scream and turn to ash. The beam hit the human's vest. Smoke rose up. The ceramic plate inside the vest turned black and cracked, absorbing the heat. The human grunt-led, took half a step back, and patted his chest as if a bee had stung him. He is still standing, Zar whispered in horror. Why didn't he melt? The human looked at Zar. The human raised his black metal tool. It was a shotgun. Eat lead, the human shouted. Boom! The sound was terrifying. It wasn't a clean electronic hum. It was an explosion. The human weapon fired a spread of lead pellets. These were primitive projectiles. They had no guidance chips. They had no plasma cores. They were just dumb, fast metal. The pellets hit Zar's blue energy armor. The armor was designed to scatter lasers. It was designed to disperse heat. It was not designed to stop a physical hammer blow. The kinetic force of the shotgun blast hit Zar like a truck. The energy shield shattered instantly. The pellets smashed into his chest armor, cracking the bioshell underneath. Zar was lifted off his feet and thrown backward into a tree. Crack! He slid down the trunk, gasping in pain. Kinetic weapons. Zar screamed into the radio. They are using solid slugs. The armor is useless. Panic erupted in the forest. The Zorgon soldiers tried to return fire, but their aim was shaky because their arms were so tired from the gravity. The laser beams that did hit the humans were mostly stopped by the humans' heat-resistant Kevlar and ceramic gear. Meanwhile, the humans were moving comfortably. To the aliens, the humans looked like monsters. They moved easily in the crushing gravity. They carried heavy packs and heavy guns as if they weighed nothing. They jumped over ditches that the aliens had to crawl through. A human soldier charged at a Zorgon. The alien tried to use close-quarters combat. He swung his rifle but at the human's head. The human caught the rifle with one hand. The Zorgon stared. He was pulling with all his strength, but the human's arm didn't move. The human was naturally dense. His bones were thick to survive the gravity. His muscles were compact and powerful. The human yanked the rifle away and tossed it aside like a toy. Then, the human punched the alien in the face. It was a simple punch. But on Earth, a punch carries the weight of the gravity behind it. The Zorgon's helmet cracked. The alien was knocked out cold instantly. Back on the spaceship, Commander Krell was watching the helmet cam footage of Squad Leader Zar. Krell was gripping the console so hard his claws left marks in the metal. "They are monsters," Krell whispered. "Look at them move. They are not slowed down by the gravity at all. They evolved here. They were born in this crushing pressure." "Sir," Vic said, his voice trembling. "I am analyzing their biology. Their bones are filled with calcium and iron. They are nearly unbreakable compared to ours. Their muscles are incredibly dense. A human child is stronger than an adult Zorgon." Krell watched as his elite Viper Legion was dismantled. It wasn't a battle, it was a bar fight. The humans were tackling the aliens, knocking them over, and sitting on them until they surrendered. The aliens were too weak to push them off. One of the video feeds showed a human soldier walking up to a terrified Zorgon. The Zorgon fired his pistol point blank. The laser scorched the human's shoulder pad. The human ignored it, grabbed the Zorgon by the neck, and lifted him 1 foot off the ground. "We surrender," the Zorgon squealed in the universal translator. "Too heavy. Too heavy." The feed cut to static. Krell turned away from the screen. He felt sick. He had brought his people to a death world. He had attacked a species that lived in high gravity, breathed thick air, and shot metal rocks for fun. "We cannot fight them on the ground," Krell admitted, his voice hollow. "And we cannot fight them in the sky." "Where do we go, sir?" Vix asked. "We have lost 60% of the ground forces in 10 minutes. Krell looked at the map of Earth. He saw the oceans. They were deep, dark, and vast. "The water," Krell said. "Humans are land animals. They breathe air. They cannot fight underwater. Our ships are amphibious. We will dive into their oceans. We will hide there, repair our ships, and plan a new strategy." It seemed like a good idea. The Zorgon ships were excellent underwater. They could withstand the pressure of the deep. Surely, the primitive humans wouldn't have anything that could challenge them in the black depths of the Pacific Ocean. Krell gave the order. "All remaining forces. Retreat to the ocean. Dive deep. We will regroup in the abyss." The surviving Zorgon ships and drop pods turned and fled toward the coast. They splashed down into the water, diving deep, disappearing beneath the waves. Krell sighed with relief. He thought he was safe. But he didn't know that the humans loved the ocean. He didn't know that while the Zorgons were looking at the stars, the humans had been building monsters to guard the deep. The Pacific Ocean is the deepest, darkest place on Earth. Sunlight cannot reach the bottom. It is a world of crushing pressure and absolute blackness. High Commander Krell sat in his command chair, breathing a sigh of relief. The surviving ships of the Zorgon fleet were now floating 3,000 meters deep. The water around them was pitch black, but their scanners showed them the terrain. "Status report," Krell whispered. He was afraid to speak too loudly, as if the ocean itself was listening. "We are stable, sir," Sub-Commander Vix replied. "The water pressure is immense, but our hull integrity is holding. We are hidden in a deep trench. The human railguns cannot reach us here. The water slows down their bullets. We are safe." Krell nodded slowly. "Good. We will stay here. We will repair the ships. Humans are land creatures. They are soft. They drown in water. They cannot fight us down here in the dark." Krell felt a little bit of his confidence returning. The Zorgon ships were amphibious. They were designed to explore water planets. They had powerful sonar and underwater thrusters. Krell believed that the ocean was the one place on Earth where his advanced technology would still work. "Sir," the weapons officer spoke up. "Should we charge the plasma cannons?" Krell shook his head. "No. Save power. If a human submarine comes, we will just melt it. Their submarines are slow, metal tubes. They are blind and noisy. We will see them coming from miles away." The fleet drifted silently in the dark. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then, a sound broke the silence. Ping. It was a single, sharp noise. It echoed through the water. Krell sat up straight. "What was that? Active sonar?" "Yes, sir," Vix said, looking at his screen. "But, it was very loud. And very deep. It came from below us." "Below us?" Krell frowned. "We are in the Mariana Trench. There is nothing below us but the sea floor." Ping. The sound came again, louder this time. Then, a heavy, rhythmic thumping began. Thud. 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 It sounded like giant footsteps. But that was impossible. Nothing walks on the bottom of the ocean. "Sir!" Vix yelled, his voice rising in panic. Massive energy spike detected. Directly underneath the flagship. It is waking up. On the main view screen, the black water suddenly changed. 2 giant lights turned on in the darkness below. They were not yellow, like sunlight. They were deep, angry red. They looked like the eyes of a demon. The lights were far apart. Whatever this thing was, it was huge. It was bigger than the Zorgon flagship. "Evasive maneuvers!" Krell screamed. "Move the ship!" But water is not like air. You cannot move quickly in water. The Zorgon thrusters flared, trying to push the ship up, but the water dragged against them. From the darkness below, a shape emerged. It wasn't a sleek spaceship. It wasn't a submarine. It was a machine. It was a Titan-class deep-sea mech. The humans had not just built submarines. They had built monsters. This machine was humanoid, but squat and bulky, built to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep. It had thick legs anchored into the ocean floor and massive hydraulic arms. It looked like a walking mountain of steel. "Open fire!" Krell ordered. "Kill it!" The Zorgon gunners fired their green plasma beams. Hisses. But Krell had forgotten his physics again. Plasma is superheated gas. When you fire plasma underwater, it instantly boils the water around it. The beam didn't travel forward. It just created a giant bubble of steam in front of the gun and then fizzled out. The heat dissipated into the cold ocean instantly. "The lasers don't work," the gunner cried. "The water absorbs the heat." The human pilot inside the giant mech didn't use heat. He used pressure. The Titan mech raised one of its massive arms. Mounted on the arm was a spinning cannon. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 3 torpedoes shot out of the tubes. These were not normal torpedoes. They were supercavitating torpedoes. They created a bubble of air around themselves so they could travel underwater at supersonic speeds. They hit the Zorgon escort ships before the aliens could even blink. Boom. Underwater explosions are different from air explosions. In the air, the blast wave spreads out. In water, the water doesn't compress. It hits like a solid hammer. The shockwave crushed the hulls of the alien ships. They didn't explode, they imploded. The pressure of the ocean rushed in, crumpling the high-tech spaceships like paper balls. "They are crushing us!" Vix screamed. 3 more contacts. "Look!" Krell looked at the radar. More red eyes were opening in the darkness. To the left, to the right, and behind them. The trench wasn't a hiding spot. It was a garage. The humans had parked their heaviest war machines down here, just waiting for a fight. Suddenly, the main communication screen on Krell's bridge flickered to life. The static cleared, revealing a human face. It was not a soldier in a helmet this time. It was an older man with gray hair, wearing a dark blue uniform with gold stars on the collar. The tag on his chest read General Stone. He looked incredibly calm. He was holding a white mug that said World's Best Grandpa. He took a sip of dark liquid, coffee, and looked at the camera as if he was bored. "This is General Stone of the United Earth Defense Command," the human said. His voice was clear, transmitted through the water cables. "I see you found our parking lot." Krell stared at the screen, trembling. You live on the surface. How do you have this technology?" "This is Class 5 aquatic warfare." General Stone smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. "You aliens are funny. You spend all your time looking up at the stars. You forgot to look down. Our planet is 70% water, Commander. We mastered the deep a long time ago. Did you really think you could hide in our swimming pool?" Krell watched in horror as the giant Titan mech outside reached out with a hydraulic claw. The claw was the size of a building. It clamped onto the engine of the Zorgon flagship. Screech! The sound of metal tearing vibrated through the hull. The ship shook violently. "We are caught!" Vix yelled. "The engine is gone. We are drifting. Let us go!" Krell shouted at the screen. "We surrender. We will leave." General Stone took another sip of his coffee. "You broke my satellites," he said calmly. "You scared my grandkids. And now you're littering in my ocean. I don't think I'm going to let you leave just yet." Stone tapped a button on his desk. "Unit 7, give them a little squeeze. But don't pop them. I want the commander alive." Outside, the giant mech tightened its grip. The hull of the Conqueror groaned. The warning lights turned red. Hull critical. Pressure rising. Krell fell to his knees. The ocean was terrifying. It was cold, dark, and silent, and the humans were the monsters who lived in it. He realized that Earth wasn't a soft paradise. It was a forge. The gravity made them strong. The competition made them violent. And the ocean made them tough. "Please," Krell begged. "We cannot fight underwater. Our weapons don't work." "I know," Stone said. "That's why we waited for you to dive." Checkmate. Stone leaned forward into the camera. "Now, listen carefully, Commander. I'm going to let your flagship go. But only so you can fly up and tell the rest of your fleet to stop shooting. If I see one more green laser, my boys down here are going to crush you into a cube. Do you understand?" "Yes. Yes, I understand." Krell cried. "Good," Stone said. "Get out of my ocean." The Titan mech released the ship. The giant claw opened. Krell ordered the emergency ballast tanks to blow. The flagship shot upward, rising toward the surface like a cork. They broke the surface of the water, gasping for air. Krell looked at the sky. He wanted to leave this planet. He wanted to go to warp speed and never come back. "Take us to orbit," Krell ordered. "Get us out of gravity. Get us away from the water." "Setting course for the moon's orbit," Vix said, looking relieved. "We will be safe behind the moon. We can regroup there." Krell nodded. The moon was a dead rock. No air, no water, no gravity traps. It was safe. But Krell was wrong for the third time. The humans were thorough. They hadn't just fortified the Earth. They had weaponized the moon, too. The massive engines of the Conqueror roared as the ship pushed itself out of Earth's atmosphere. The water from the ocean froze instantly on the hull as they entered the cold vacuum of space. High Commander Krell stood on the bridge, shaking the water from his uniform. He was breathing hard. He had never been so happy to see the black stars of space. "We are out," Sub-Commander Vix reported, his voice filled with relief. "We have left the atmosphere. The gravity grip is gone. We are back in the void. Krell slumped into his chair. He looked at the tactical map. It was a disaster. The invasion had lasted less than 2 hours. In that time, he had lost his entire air fleet to the railguns, his ground troops to the gravity, and his aquatic ships to the underwater mechs. Only the flagship and a handful of damaged cruisers remained. They were limping away, leaking fuel and atmosphere. Status of the warp drive? Krell asked. Can we jump out of the system? Negative, sir, the engineer replied. The underwater crusher claw damaged the main reactor. We need to make repairs before we can enter hyperspace. It will take at least 6 hours. Krell gritted his teeth. 6 hours. We are sitting ducks here. He looked at the screen. He saw the Earth's moon. It was a large, gray, dead rock. It hung in the sky, silent and empty. Take us behind the moon, Krell ordered. The dark side. The humans live on Earth. They don't live on that dead rock. We will hide in its shadow. The bulk of the moon will block their radar and their railguns. We will be safe there. The fleet adjusted its course. They flew away from the blue marble of Earth and headed toward the gray cratered surface of the moon. As they got closer, Krell felt his confidence returning slightly. This was space. This was the Zorgon domain. Humans were biological creatures, they needed air and water. They couldn't survive on the moon without massive, fragile glass domes. And Krell saw no domes. See? Krell pointed at the screen. It is barren. Dust and rocks. A perfect hiding spot. The Zorgon fleet drifted around the curve of the moon. The Earth disappeared from view, blocked by the lunar horizon. The sun was blocked too. They were now in total darkness, hidden in the shadow of the moon. Cut the engines, Krell whispered. Drift silently. They will never find us. The ship went silent. The lights on the bridge were dimmed. They waited in the dark, watching the sensors. Then, a light turned on. It wasn't a star. It was a floodlight. A massive, blinding white spotlight beamed up from the surface of the moon, hitting the Conqueror directly. Then another light turned on. And another. And another. In seconds, the entire surface of the dark side of the moon lit up like a Christmas tree. Krell shielded his eyes from the glare. What is happening? I thought this side was empty. Sir? Vic said, his voice dropping to a terrified whisper. It's not empty. It's all metal. The cameras adjusted to the brightness. Krell looked down and gasped. The dark side of the moon was not just rock. It was a factory. It was a fortress. The humans had covered thousands of miles of the surface with industrial complexes. There were huge mining machines chewing up the moon dust. There were refineries belching gas into storage tanks. But most importantly, there were silos. Thousands of missile silos. Radar lock detected, the tactical officer screamed. 10 contacts, no, 100, no. Sir, the computer stopped counting. It is everything. The entire moon is targeting us. The surface of the moon seemed to shift. Massive doors opened in the ground. Huge cannons, much larger than the railguns on Earth, rotated to aim at the Zorgon ships. These were mass drivers. They were designed to shoot cargo containers to Mars, but right now, they were loaded with warheads. We are trapped. Vix yelled. We are in the kill zone. Krell frantically pressed the communication button. We are leaving. Don't shoot. We are just passing through. The main screen flickered. The face of General Stone appeared again. He was still drinking his coffee. He looked even more bored than before. Hello again, Commander, Stone said. I see you at our moon base. We call it the Hammered. You weaponized your moon? Krell stuttered. Who does that? It is a celestial body. It is supposed to be peaceful. It was peaceful, Stone said, shrugging. Until we decided we didn't want unexpected guests. You see, on Earth, we have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. The moon is our stick. Krell looked at the sensors. He was surrounded. Not only were the moon guns pointing at him, but small fighter drones were launching from the lunar surface. They swarmed around the Zorgon ships like angry bees. General Stone, Krell said, bowing his head in defeat. I surrender. Fully. Please, do not fire. We cannot survive another hit. Surrender? Stone raised an eyebrow. You destroyed 3 bridges in New York. You stepped on a forest in Canada. And you scared the fish in the Pacific. You think you can just say sorry and leave? What do you want? Krell pleaded. We have no money. We are soldiers. I don't want money, Stone said. I want labor. Krell froze. Labor? You broke it, you fix it, Stone said simply. Your ships have tractor beams, right? And advanced welding lasers? Good. You are going to go back down there and fix every building you damaged. You are going to replant the trees. And you are going to apologize to the whales. But, that will take months. Krell protested. It is humiliating. We are the Zorgon Empire. Correction, Stone said, leaning into the camera. His eyes cold and hard. You are the Zorgon Empire. Now, you are the Zorgon Construction Company. You have 2 choices, Commander. Choice A, you start fixing the mess you made. Choice B, I tell the moon to say hello. Stone pressed a button, and one of the massive mass drivers on the moon's surface adjusted its aim slightly. It made a deep, mechanical thrum that vibrated through the Zorgon ship's sensors. Krell looked at the giant gun. He looked at his terrified crew. He looked at his ruined fleet. There was no escape. The humans controlled the ground. They controlled the sea. And they had turned their own moon into a loaded shotgun pointing at his head. Krell slumped his shoulders. The arrogance was gone. The pride was gone. Choice A, Krell whispered. We will fix it. I can't hear you, Stone said, holding a hand to his ear. We will fix it. Krell shouted. Excellent, Stone smiled. I'll send up the blueprints. Oh, and Commander? Don't try to warp away. We put a gravity anchor on your hull when you were underwater. If you try to jump to hyperspace, your ship will turn inside out. The screen went black. Krell stared at the blank monitor. He felt totally defeated. He had come to conquer a primitive world. He had come to enslave the weak. Instead, he had flown straight into a hornet's nest. Sir, Vix asked quietly. What are your orders? Krell looked at his hands. Get the welding gear ready, he said softly. We have a lot of work to do. As the Zorgon ships turned slowly back toward Earth, escorted by the human drones, Krell realized the truth. The galaxy thought humans were peaceful because they were quiet. But they were only quiet because they were busy reloading. 3 months had passed since the invasion began. But instead of ruling the Earth, High Commander Krell was currently holding a welding torch. Krell stood on the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. The bridge had been damaged during the first hour of the attack when a Zorgon stray shot hit a support cable. Now, Krell and his elite Viper Legion were fixing it. It was a strange sight. The aliens were 7-foot-tall lizards wearing high-tech space armor, but over their armor, they wore bright orange safety vests. Keep it steady, a human voice called out. Krell looked down. A short, chubby human construction foreman named Bob was pointing at the steel beam. Bob was eating a donut. You missed a spot on the left, Bob said, chewing his food. My grandma welds better than that, and she's blind. Do it again. Krell grit his teeth. His tail twitched with rage. He wanted to shoot Bob. He wanted to scream that he was a high commander of the Zorgon Empire, conqueror of 50 worlds. But he didn't. He knew that somewhere in the bay, a nuclear submarine was watching him. He knew that if he acted aggressive, the railguns in the mountains would turn him into dust. "Yes, Supervisor Bob," Krell said through his translator. He adjusted the setting on his plasma rifle, which had been modified to be a welding tool, and fixed the beam. This was the scene all over the planet. In the forests of Canada, Zorgon soldiers were replanting trees. Their advanced bioscanners, usually used to find enemies, were now being used to find the best soil for pine seeds. In the cities of Europe, Zorgon engineers were repairing roads. Their anti-gravity lifters were perfect for moving heavy rubble. The humans did not put the aliens in cages. They did not torture them. They simply made them work. It was a punishment worse than death for the proud warrior race. It was total humiliation. Crowds of humans would gather to watch. They took pictures. Some human children even walked up to the aliens. One day, a small human girl approached Krell. She was holding a bottle of cold water. "You look hot, Mr. Lizard," the girl said, holding out the bottle. Krell looked at the tiny creature. He could snap her in half with 2 fingers. But he saw no fear in her eyes. She was just kind. Krell took the water. His hands were shaking from the heavy Earth gravity. "Thank you," he rasped. "My daddy says you guys are naughty," the girl said innocently. "But he says if you fix the bridge, you can go home." Krell looked at the water bottle. He realized something terrifying. The humans were not just strong. They were complex. They could destroy a fleet in an hour, but they would also give water to their enemy. This balance of extreme violence and casual kindness confused Krell more than the weapons. Finally, the work was done. The Golden Gate Bridge was shiny and new. The craters in the streets were filled. The trees were replanted. General Stone contacted the Conqueror one last time. "Not bad," Stone said, looking at the drone footage of the repairs. "You guys are actually pretty good at construction. Maybe you picked the wrong career. Can we leave now?" Krell asked. He was exhausted. His scales were gray from concrete dust. "Yes," Stone said. "The gravity anchor has been removed. You are free to go." Stone leaned into the camera. His face became serious. "But Krell, take this message back to your High Council. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them that Earth is not a soft target. If you come back, there will be no work crews. There will be no repairs. Next time, we won't stop shooting until your home planet is dust. Do you understand?" "I understand," Krell said. And he meant it. "Good. Get off my lawn," Stone said. The screen went black. The Zorgon fleet, now repaired and cleaned, powered up their engines. They blasted out of Earth's atmosphere, eager to escape the heavy gravity. They passed the moon, where the massive guns tracked them silently until they were out of range. Krell engaged the warp drive. The stars stretched into lines of light. They were going home. The Zorgon High Council, Planet Zorg Prime. The High Council chamber was a massive room made of black obsidian. The 3 Emperor Lords sat on high thrones. They were ancient, powerful beings who had never known defeat. Krell stood before them. He had been stripped of his armor. He wore simple robes. He looked small and defeated. "You return with 1 ship," the First Lord boomed. "Where is the fleet? Where are the slaves? Where is the water of Earth?" "Gone," Krell said quietly. "All gone. You were defeated by primitives?" The Second Lord asked, his voice full of disgust. "By monkeys who burn dead plants." "They are not monkeys," Krell said, looking up. "They are monsters." The council laughed. It was a cruel sound. "You have grown weak, Krell. We will send a larger fleet. We will send the world breakers. We will burn this Earth to ash." "No!" Krell shouted. The council fell silent. No one ever shouted at the lords. Krell walked forward and slammed a data crystal onto the table. A hologram sprang up. It showed the footage. It showed the railguns punching through shields. It showed the human soldiers physically overpowering the Viper Legion. It showed the underwater mechs crushing ships like toys. And finally, it showed the moon, the entire moon, lighting up with thousands of missiles. The lords watched in silence. Their arrogance began to fade. They saw the speed of the kinetic weapons. They saw the durability of the humans. They live in gravity twice as strong as ours, Krell explained, his voice shaking. Their bones are like iron. Their reaction times are instant. They drink poison for fun, they call it alcohol and caffeine. Their planet is full of hurricanes, earthquakes, and volcanoes, and they just live there. They are not a civilization, my lords. They are survivors of a death world. The third lord leaned forward. So, we should destroy the planet from a distance? Supernova their sun? If we try, Krell warned, they will survive. And they will come for us. They are spiteful. If you break their house, they will come to yours and break it twice as hard. Do not wake them up again. The room was quiet for a long time. The data was undeniable. Earth was not a target. It was a trap. Very well, the First Lord said finally. We will scrub the coordinates. We will remove Earth from the navigation maps. No, Krell said. Do not remove it. Mark it. Krell walked to the galactic map. He found the small, yellow star called Sol. He drew a thick red line around the entire solar system. He typed a new entry into the galactic database. This entry would be read by every captain, every pirate, and every empire for the next 1,000 years. The entry read: System, Sol Planet, Earth, Terra, Classification, Class X Death World Inhabitants, Humans. Warning, do not approach. Do not scan. Do not attack. This species appears primitive. They emit radio waves. They have no energy shields. They look soft. This is a lie. Their planet is a weapon. Their moon is a gun. Their ocean is a graveyard. They do not fight for resources, they fight for sport. They do not fear death, they greet it. If you attack them, your shields will fail. Your armor will crack. And when you surrender, they will not kill you. They will make you fix the mess you made. There are monsters in the dark of space. But the humans are the ones the monsters are afraid of. Status, quarantined. Advice, run. Krell finished typing. He stepped back. It is done, Krell said. Back on Earth, General Stone sat on his porch, watching the sunset. The sky was clear. The stars were coming out. He took a sip of his coffee and smiled. He knew the aliens wouldn't be back. And if they did come back? Well, the garage was full of tanks, the moon was loaded, and the humans were always ready for a second round.